Good evening and welcome back to Tff Talks FL72. I'm your host, Max Hayes, and we have a great show lined up for you. We'll move on to our great panel that joined me this evening. First of all, we've got Billy Joe Wilson. He's a writer for TFF, student at Newcastle College and a Newcastle United fan. Billy, evening.
Evening.
How are you?
All right, thank you.
Good. And next up, we have Charlie Pumphrey, content creator at Halftime Cuppa, student at UBFC and Brighton fan. Charlie, how are you?
I am good, Max. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Glad to have you on. And Ben Jones, manager of TFF, Peterborough United fan and an all-round lover of football. Ben, how are you?
Very well, Max. Good to be here.
Good. Pleasure. Thanks for coming on. And we do expect a late arrival, Mr. Liam Drury, that he should be popping on hopefully sometime soon. But first of all, we'll just get right into the show. We'll start with a bit of transfer news from the Championship today. Nottingham Forest have signed Leeds midfielder Liam Bridcut for an undisclosed fee on a 3-year deal. Forest were obviously looking for a central midfielder. Well, I think Liam Bridcut can play anywhere in the midfield, really, as well as a defensive midfielder. And first of all, we'll go to Ben. Ben, first of all, your thoughts on the Forest signing Liam Bridcut?
I think it's a good signing. I think he's had. I'm very impressed with a couple of clubs. I think I can hear Drury coming in as I speak. Making a subtle entrance.
And sorry, quickly pausing you there, Ben. I've completely forgot to introduce one of our people on the panel tonight. Danny Cook, once again student at UBFC, and he's a Norwich fan and hosts the usual TFF Talks. It feels really weird me presenting to him tonight. Danny, how are you?
I'm fine, mate. I'm fine. I'm just laughing at Liam Drury joining us late as always. But no, it's great to be on this side of the panel for a change. So thanks for having me, Max.
No worries. And obviously, like Danny just mentioned, Liam has finally joined us. We'll get his very long intro sentence. Tonight we see the urgently anticipated and long-awaited return of TFF's very own Liam Drury, just a few days before his 2-year TFF anniversary. Liam, hello, good evening.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good, you?
Yeah, not too bad. Great to have you on, unlike all of the other panellists. Anyway, we'll go back to the bit about Forest signing Liam Bridcut. So, Ben, continue what you were going to say there.
I was just going to say that I think it's a good signing for Forest. Plenty of experience in the Championship, likes of Brighton, Leeds. A little bit of experience in the Premier League, not too much to shout about, but definitely experience in the Championship. Plus, Forest have had a really good start, so any reinforcements they can get to hopefully further, I'm sure, is very welcome.
It's really good. Obviously, if you didn't know, I'm a Forest fan. By the way, I didn't really introduce myself. So yeah, I think he's a good signing for Forest. But obviously, we'll go to Danny now because Danny's a Norwich fan. Obviously, Norwich have played Forest before, and Norwich have smashed Forest before, which I hate to say it, 5-0 last season, and have scored from some fantastic goals towards the end of last season. Talking about Liam Bridcut, Danny, how well do you think he's going to do for Forest? Obviously, just add a bit to Ben's bit. Do you think he's going to be a good signing for the Reds?
I mean, he's a positive signing, isn't he? Really, I'm sure that's a position that you needed, sort of filling in. And you're not the only club who desperately needs some strikers. We've got Cameron Jerome if you want him, but no. I think that's a good signing for you. I think that's a good bit of business. I don't know. Did you pay much for him? Do you know? Is it a loan deal?
It's a undisclosed fee, but people reckon it's around 2 to 3 million, really.
Oh, that's quite sensible. That's quite sensible in my view, anyway. But
yeah, just quickly, obviously on the transfer news topic before we move into the fixtures and some and reviewing the championship from last weekend's action, is we saw yesterday. Moving slightly off topic to the Premier League, not that much because it's still influenced with the Football League. Burnley signed lead striker Wood for a club record fee. It says here Burnley signed New Zealand striker Chris Wood from Leeds United for a club record transfer fee, thought to be around 15 million. We'll go to Billy. As a Newcastle fan, Billy, obviously now in the Premier League, very good. Do you think do you think he's going to be a threat to Newcastle when Newcastle play Burnley?
Yeah, 100%. He's just one of them strikers that you hate to play against.
Yeah.
Just, in my opinion, he's absolutely brilliant, and Burnley have done really well to sign him.
Yeah.
It would have been better if he signed for Newcastle, but
yeah. But I think he's a fantastic signing. I remember him playing against Forest, and he just looked like a real threat. But moving on from the transfer news bit, because we've really got to get into this last weekend's results and fixtures and all that. We'll go for the first one. The first game we'll go to is. We'll go to the Villa game against Norwich City. Obviously, going back to Norwich. Norwich lose 4-2 to Villa. Villa's first win of the season. Steve Bruce, obviously, under a lot of pressure recently. Some fans calling him to go. And Villa were near the bottom of the relegation zone before they, I think they were at the bottom of the relegation zone before they went into the game. We'll go to Mr. Drury first, and then we'll move on to Charlie. Sorry for not a lot of action there, but Drury first. Your thoughts on Villa's win over Norwich?
I think it was a much needed win for Villa because they needed to get that 3 points on the board just and they were held. I think Norwich, they should have, in their heads for the game, they should have at least got a point from that game.
Yeah. Yeah, and obviously we'll go to Charlie now. Charlie, do you think Steve Bruce will stay at Villa, or do you think he could still get sacked? Do you think the Villa board are going to give him time and really just be patient with him and let him do his stuff for this season?
I think there's definitely an argument for that, isn't there, with regards to teams as big as Villa who have spent like Villa have to kind of stick by their manager. I think Newcastle last year had periods where they were, let's say, iffy, and they found the championship a struggle. And if you look in that team, there's quite a few players there that are either fairly new to the scene or untested at the level that Villa wants to challenge at. I think they're starting to see now players like Conor Hourihane, and the two almost debutants on the day, Keenan Davis and Andre Green. Yeah. All looking like they're stepping up to the plate now.
Yeah.
Bruce is cultivating that.
And I think you've put in a great point there. It's a bit of a debate whether he obviously should go and give him time, etc. But remember to get your comments in. You can send them in via the YouTube live chat section, or send them to us via Twitter at official TFF. We will read loads of them out. Direct any either at myself or the panel, and we'll answer them towards the end of the show. But staying on the Villa topic, is slightly on about managers now, is I've done a bit of a thing here, and I thought we could do it for every single league, is who do you think's going to be the first manager to get sacked? I think there's already been one in League Two, if I'm right. I can't remember who that is, but there has been one. But we'll go to the Championship first. Who do you think's going to be the first manager to get sacked? We'll go to Ben.
That's a tough one. I think Barnsley are going to be in for a long, hard season.
Yep.
I think Paul. Am I right in saying it's Paul Heckingbottom still?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I think Barnsley are going to massively struggle. I think they've lost a lot of players, so I can see maybe his job coming under threat fairly soon. Even though it's a bit harsh to say, but yeah.
Yeah. So what about you, Danny? Who do you think's the first manager to be sacked? Who do you think's going to be the first manager?
It's a tough one. Before a ball was kicked, I would have said Mick McCarthy. But obviously, they're doing pretty well at the moment, bearing obviously who they've played. But I mean, Steve Bruce is under pressure. As you're going back to the Norwich game, it's a typical along comes Norwich situation. So I think they've still got to get some more wins and performances on the board before you could sort of say he's safe.
Yeah.
I like Steve Bruce. I really do like him. But I mean, he's got to get some results on the board ASAP, really.
Yeah, he has. Obviously, Sunderland didn't start the best to their season. Obviously, drew against Derby. I think it was 1-1. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was 1-1 on the Friday night opener. Some comments when the announcement was made for him to be the manager of Sunderland was, "That's awful. Why have you got a Preston manager? He's done awful with Preston. They're just a mid-table side. Why have you got him?" Lots of comments going in and a bit of speculation. We talked about it a few weeks ago. We'll go to Charlie. Charlie, do you think he's gonna go, or do you think he'll do really well with Sunderland this season and getting promoted to the Premier League?
I think it's difficult because Sunderland's a very difficult situation. I think there's a lot of parallels that could be drawn between them and Aston Villa to an extent last year. That they were both teams that finished bottom and they both needed to rebuild. And I think Simon Grayson has gone in there with a more limited budget than people would say, so I think it's going to take time. But he's made good additions to the squad in players like Aidan Eady and Lewis Grabban.
Yeah, obviously, in my opinion, for Forest, is I think Forest definitely need to keep Mark Warburton for the future, because Forest, it's a crazy stat, in about 6 years now, Forest haven't kept a manager till the end of the season. We've been sacking him halfway through, and I think Forest and I think a lot of clubs in the Football League need to give managers time. Because you look at a scenario of Alex Ferguson when he was managing Man United, turned it round so quickly, and it obviously went on and did fantastic for Man United and is one of the greatest football managers ever now. So I think that's a fantastic point there, Charlie. But moving on from the Villa game and about the managers, still on the Championship segment, is Derby County. Obviously, they beat Bolton. They beat Bolton on 2-1 on Saturday. Gary Rowett obviously came in at about, I think it was April, end of March time for Derby, and fans thought it was a fantastic announcement for them. Do you think he's going to do well and Derby can push for a high finish this season? We'll go to Liam.
Yeah, I think they can. I think Guy Rowett's a very capable manager. He was wrongly sacked by Birmingham.
Yeah.
And I think he's not exactly old, is he? So he's got youth on his side. He's got a good recruitment network at Derby. I think he's going to use the resources that Stephen Clown didn't use to its potential.
Yeah, and obviously you bring the point up about Birmingham. Is obviously Birmingham manager at the minute is Harry Redknapp. He's doing quite a good job there at the minute. Obviously kept him up last season on the final day. Staying with Liam, Liam, do you think Harry Redknapp will do well, or do you think he's going to tumble down and take Birmingham down the table and get sacked or whatnot?
I think under Redknapp, Birmingham will be top half to mid-table side. I don't think they'll be battling relegation just because he's got experience on his side. He knows what he's doing. And he's just a good manager. So, and good managers make average sides good sides. So he could do that with them.
Yeah. And we'll go to Billy. Sorry, we haven't included you in anything on the recent topic. What do you think about Bolton? Obviously, they're under financial fair play rules at the minute, which we're going to talk about later on in the show. Manager is Phil Parkinson. He has brought in a few players. He signed Adam Lafondra now permanently for him. We talked about him a few weeks ago in the podcast, so we won't really talk about him. But do you think Bolton are going to survive this year, Billy?
Oh, it's the Championship this season's so hard to predict.
Yeah,
but I don't think so.
No,
I think they're going to be bottom 3.
Yeah,
definitely
yeah. I started off with some predictions before the season started, and I put Bolton to go down, Barnsley, and I put Millwall to go down. I've changed my mind now. I don't think Millwall will go down after when they played against Forest. Forest deserved to win it all. Millwall were the better side, and I'll come out and say that and not be biased to my own team. And I think Millwall will scrape 1-0 victories and draws from the whole of the season, and they've got a really good attack, really. And I think when they played against Forest, when they had a set piece, it was a really dangerous threat. They've got a lot of tall bodies in the box to head balls in, but I think Millwall will stay up this season. But moving on to the Championship, because like I say, we haven't got long. We're going to be talking about later on in the show the fixtures coming up for this weekend. But we're going to talk about League One now. Obviously, League One, a very unpredictable league this year. We'll go for Wigan first. Obviously, Wigan top of the table, top of League One, won against MK Dons 1-0 on Saturday. We'll go to Ben. Do you think Wigan are gonna make a straight return to the Championship?
I think it's going to be tough. I mean, I think League One. I don't think there's any standout teams anymore because I mean, in recent past we've been used to teams like Southampton, Bristol City, Wolves, kind of all walking League One and going straight back up easily. And this year I can't really see that team. I think it's going to be very tight at the top. I mean, I did say Blackburn. I thought they were going to win it, but they've not started great. But they've got time, I suppose. But I think Wigan are going to be there or thereabouts. The squad they've got, I think they've kept the majority of their squad together. They've sold players here and there, and they've brought in. They've managed to bring in some players as well. They're bringing the likes of Ivan Toney, good striker at this level. Nick Powell's still there, can do well. I think pushing automatic promotion.
Yep. Staying on with Wigan, we'll move to another panelist now. We'll go to Charlie, and then we'll get the others involved. Charlie, obviously, Wigan lost another player about 6 days ago, I think, from now. Omar Bogle, going back slightly to the Championship, to Cardiff. I think fee was around about 1.5 million. We'll talk about Cardiff quickly. Do you think he's a good signing, and do you think Wigan have lost a fantastic player?
I think to an extent Wigan have lost a good striker, but as was mentioned, they've prepared for that loss with Ivan Toney to an extent. Yeah. He comes in and fills those boots almost the same. They're very similar players. Mm-hmm. And like I said, the Wigan squad looks quite strong. They've brought in players to replace what they've lost, which is always difficult when you go from the Championship to League One, and they've got a good chance and they've got a good manager as well.
Yeah, it's... and we'll move on to another result now. Great point there from Ben and Charlie. We'll move on to another team relegated last year from the Championship, but a team that's not doing very well, sitting 16th currently in League One, is Rotherham United. They lost to, I'm just looking now, they lost to Peterborough. Obviously, we're going to get the posh fans involved in this. We'll go to Danny first. Rotherham, they haven't been very well. They've lost a few players in the summer, and a lot of their team is young players. Do you think they're going to bounce back, or you think they're just going to be a mid-table side or even drop down even to League Two, Danny?
I mean, look, it's hard to tell after just 3 games.
Yeah.
I mean, we've obviously had this discussion on a variety of teams, but the feeling I have about them on their latest result, obviously against Peterborough, I don't think they should get disheartened, to be honest. I mean, I've obviously not seen the game in person, but bearing in mind that Peterborough battling away at the top, and they are. I mean, I'm sure Ben's delighted.
They are.
But they are a side.
They really are.
Yeah, they're a side that you expect to sort of be challenging up there this year. So, listen, I don't think they've got anything to be disheartened by at this stage. Maybe a couple of games down the line, yeah, I would agree. I think they'll be top half at least this season.
Yeah, and we're going to go to Ben now, obviously. Peterborough fan. Fantastic from Peterborough so far. Posh are doing really well. Second in the league, 9 points, just below Wigan. Obviously, they've won all their games, and they've Peterborough only 1 point off the top, 1 goal difference off the top. Do you think, Ben, as a Posh fan, do you think you're going to be up there, right by up there till the end of the season, or do you think they're going to drop down? Or
I'd like to think so. I think we can. I think going into the season, our chairman was very positive that we can make playoffs. I think a lot of the fans needed convincing of that. I think there was a bit of pessimism going into the season, so it's actually quite good that we've had this good start. So fans are starting to kind of turn around again. I think the way I've seen the team play, we've been playing the new 3-4-3 formation.
Yeah.
And particularly, we've had some key additions as well, the likes of Jonathan Bond in goals, been outstanding. Jack Marriott's nearly had 2 hat-tricks in a row, but was denied a ball which was actually over the line on retrospection. Wasn't given, would have given us top of the league, and him 2 consecutive hat-tricks. Not bitter. Then we've got Stephen Taylor as well, who we signed. I mean, I think that's the key signing. He's really kind of pulled together our defence, and we really have looked good these first 3 games, and I think hopefully carry that on.
Yeah, but I think you've got a great point there, and I think when Peterborough got relegated from the Championship a few years ago, I thought there'd be a team that had bounced straight back up, and I do hope for them and for you also, Ben, that they do come back up, because again, I've been to their ground before away with Forest. Like I say, hope they stay up there, but we'll quickly move on. Last bit about League One, and then straight on to League Two. Charlton have had a very rough past few seasons with owners and just stuff going on the off the pitch and on the pitch. They've started the season well. They've played 3 and won 2, 6 points. They're 6th. Well, they're actually all the teams ranging from 6th to 3rd, which is Fleetwood, are all on the same points. But like I say, Charlton, do you think they're going to come back up this season, Billy?
I think so. I think they're a good team, and they can stick in and fight, and then hopefully they'll come back up.
Yeah. And I think it's really important, and I like I say again, I hope Charlton do, because they've had such terrible seasons and terrible stuff that the fans have to be put through with protests and owners and just stuff, things like that. Really, they've obviously got a new owner now. I think it's Dunkin' Donuts, isn't it? If I'm right, someone correct me. Is it Dunkin' Donuts that owns Charlton now?
Don't have a clue. I'm sorry.
No, don't worry.
I can find that.
Thanks. I think it is because I can remember seeing it last season. But we'll move on to Charlie now. Charlie, before Danny finds out, how well do you think? How good do you think it will be for the fans if they can go up this season?
I think for a club like Charlton, they've got history, haven't they, with the higher divisions?
Yeah.
And they've got a good little squad there that should have enough about it to put themselves in a good position.
Yeah.
And what's vital in League One is a goal scorer, and I think they've got a few players that can get the goals that will help them get that way back towards the Championship.
We will move on to League Two now, and then go back to the main segment of the Football League. League Two, once again, another league you can't predict this season. We will talk about some of the results from last weekend's action. First of all, we'll talk about Notts County. Obviously, a club that, again, have had a lot of turmoil the last few years with ownerships, owners and fans, again, protesting and not the right manager. But it seems they've finally got the two right men for the club. They've got Kevin Nolan in charge, doing a fantastic job, and Alan Hardy, who is the chairman and owner now. They won 4-2 against Wycombe Wanderers on Saturday. We'll go to Liam, because Liam, I do apologise because you haven't been involved a lot. But Liam, do you think Notts County are going to do well, and do you think Kevin Nolan's a good, solid manager for them?
Yeah, I think Kevin Nolan's a good choice for them. He's not most experienced in terms of management, but his playing career was experienced at the top, so he knows what it takes to get to the top.
Yeah.
And take it from there. Obviously, he was in charge of Leighton Orient as player manager.
Mm-hmm.
I think he did an okay job there. But I think Notts County is the right place for him, and we're gonna finally see where he is as a manager at Notts County this season. How good he is.
I think he's got a fantastic relationship with the chairman too, and I think that's really important with a manager. Is you've got to have a great relationship with the board and the owners, because if not, it does cause a lot of things. We'll move on to another local club towards Notts County, Mansfield. Mansfield doing really well. Well, they did okay last season. Obviously, they've got Steve Evans in charge, a manager that's managed a lot of clubs, got Rotherham promoted before, and he's an experienced championship manager. We'll go to Danny. Danny, do you think Steve Evans is the right guy for the club?
Well, he's certainly an interesting character. There's no denying that. He's probably up there as the Ian Holloway of League Two.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, Mansfield are an interesting team, to be fair. They are an interesting team. So I would really like to see them do it. And actually, I'd like to see for Steve Evans as well that they do it.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not too sure. It's going to be a very hard league. I mean, as you saw, like Luton are sort of free scoring at the moment. Swindon obviously up there. There's a lot of teams, and I mean, even some of the teams that come up, I think they're going to give them a right battle this year. So the likes of Lincoln, and Forest Green, who I think are going to give their all for this. So it's going to be tough. And again, I think they're probably more inclined to a top half finish or a mid-table. I can't see them going below that. But they might sneak a playoff if they're lucky.
You've kind of brought me on to my next topic, which we're going to spend about 5 minutes on, a bit longer than the others, is Forest Green Rovers. A strange club. I've watched lots of documentaries about them where it's a eco-friendly club. They sell healthy food instead of the typical pies and chips, which wouldn't go down too well in my family. And I think with most of us, as we like it, we like the classic pie and chips. But Forest Green Rovers, like you say, Danny, do you think they could be up there this season, Ben?
Well, I'm not sure. I think definitely the gap between League Two and the non-league has narrowed. So I think teams can. I think they'll come in. I think they've got the squad there to comfortably stay in the league. As for pushing onwards, I'm not sure they've got the kind of investment they needed. I think some of the players they've got, a lot of them are non-league players, kind of making their first steps into the Football League. So I think maybe a bit of consolidation this season would be good for them, and then pushing forward, maybe next year looking at playoffs. I think they should probably not get bogged down in like trying to get too much too soon. So, they're good for us to win, and they need to build on that at the moment. Just focus on staying up this season.
Yeah, and I obviously like to say about Forest Green Rovers with all these things about the club and changes and stuff like that. Moving obviously on to a little bit of a different topic, but still on Forest Green Rovers, is moving on from stuff off the pitch and not on the pitch. We'll go to Charlie. Do you think it's strange or good the way they're kind of running the club with all these eco-friendly things and stuff like that, really?
I think ultimately in football, teams are going to do what they want to differentiate themselves from everyone else as much as their own philosophy. And I think good. We need teams that think differently, because then if that approach works, it'll filter through to the higher levels. And so I think it's definitely a good thing to have that difference. Yeah,
it's a debate at the end of the day. Of some people like it, but I suppose you don't really know until you've actually been to the ground and experienced what it's like on a match day. So moving on from Forest Green Rovers, because we really are struggling to run out of time because we want to include lots of other things. We're staying on League Two. One last thing about League Two, Danny mentioned it earlier, is Swindon. Swindon really up there at the minute, beat Morecambe 1-0 on Saturday. We'll do a prediction along the panel. We'll do it slightly different. So we'll go from Ben to Liam. Ben, going back to you, where do you think Swindon are going to finish this season?
I actually think Swindon, I think they can win the league this year. I think they're going to be one of the teams up there. So, yeah, I'm going to go champions.
Right, Billy?
I don't think they're going to win it. I think it'll be about third.
Yeah.
I think Accrington are going to somehow pull out the bag and win the league.
Charlie?
Oh, sorry about that. I think they'll be in and around with League Two. I think all you need to do is put a good run of form together. I think they're definitely candidates for automatic promotion.
Yeah. Danny?
Second or third, to echo what some of the others have said. Yeah.
Liam?
Playoffs. I don't think they get automatically promoted.
Yeah. I think I'm agreeing with Ben. I think they'll be champions. I think they've brought some fantastic additions to the squad, and I think they're really good for them. Moving on to a topic that is discussed so much recently, is the League Cup now changed to the Carabao Cup. It's gone very strange this season. We'll get my views on it later, as I don't want to waffle on too much. But we'll go to Charlie. As obviously you must follow the League Cup. Obviously Brighton are not in it until the next rounds. If I'm,
we're in it. We're playing tonight.
I say. So, do you think it's silly because they're the third round draw is going to be on at 4:30 in the morning our time, and it's going to be in Beijing, China, which is it really does baffle me.
Yeah, I think I made this point actually on the main show last night, was that it's very much it's commercialism at its peak. The sponsors have said we want it here. It's going to be at this time, and it's very much probably to suit that crowd, to suit the Asian crowd. To be honest, that's probably the only reason it's been done.
Yeah, but it's another talking point, and we'll stay with you, Charlie, and give your view on this. Is my point is, I don't think a lot of China fans will watch the League Cup. They might because of the new sponsorship, but do you think sponsors and sponsorships can take over football teams and football overall sometimes?
Well, I think, to be honest with this, I think this draw makes sense in some ways, holding it in Beijing, because this is the draw where you get the big teams entering the tournament.
Yeah.
So the ones that have real interest out in Asia. So you have Manchester Uniteds, you have your Chelseas that are all very public out there. And it makes sense now because these people, if they know about it vaguely, will know that, we want to see who Man United are playing in the next round.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, it makes sense. And so I think for me, it's just taking advantage of that crowd and saying, look, here's some exposure for all these other teams, so for all these other interesting stories. I think it's a good idea, to be honest, if you look at it deeply.
Yeah, I do agree with you there on some points you made. It will be surprising to see how many people actually watch it. It's on Thursday, and luckily for me, I go on holiday then, and my flight's at 5:30 in the morning, so I'll probably end up listening to it at the airport. But yeah, lucky for me, I can listen to it. But we'll go to Ben and get his thoughts on it. Ben, your thoughts on the whole malarkey of the Carabao Cup?
Oh, yeah, I just don't understand it. I just think it's a bit mad. You know, I'm sure all the Chinese Newport County fans are jumping up and down, but apart from that, I don't really see the point. I mean, I do take the point about there's a lot of fans in foreign countries, but I just think, why do we have to cater for that? I mean, it's the English League Cup. To be honest, there'll be very little interest from it in China. Like, they won't have heard of the competition. It's just a slap in the face to English football, really. I just don't understand why they have to take. Because loads of fans would want to watch it, but they can't. They can't even listen to it. Because no one's going to stay up until 4 in the morning.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, exactly. And then I just think you don't need to do it. There's plenty of opportunities to grow the game in Asia. All these Premier League teams flew halfway across the world in pre-season to give their fans a taste of the action, anything. And with those pre-season tours, they got to see the players, watch them play. Yeah. Here, they're just literally watching balls being drawn out of a hat. That's all they're watching. So yeah. I just think the whole idea is a bit crazy, really. And I can't see, it's not really going to grow the game. There's going to be no effect whatsoever, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Can I respond? Sorry.
Yeah.
Just to be cheeky. I think, to be honest, it may have been the case that when Carabao made the deal now to sponsor the trophy, they may have said, well, that's it. That's part of the deal. We have to hold out there or we don't sponsor it. It could have been the case that if they hadn't have secured that, we might not have the League Cup. So I think in some ways you have to look at these as sort of necessary evils. At the end of the day, people aren't that. Have they ever been that worried about League Cup draws?
No.
I think a lot of people need over nothing, to be honest.
And I suppose you can follow it with things via Twitter and see it the next day, but it does kind of baffle me of putting it on at that time, because I'd completely for it if they put it on at a Chinese time when English people are awake at it. Obviously, you've got to work out the time difference and stuff like that, but the thing that baffles me is the Chinese and and people in China can watch a lot of English telly, and I'm sure they have a lot of English TV channels, and there's no reason why they can't go on an iPad, and BBC Sport could be streaming it and watch it there. But at the end of the day, Charlie, you've made a fantastic point there, because if they didn't sponsor it, we wouldn't have a League Cup. In my opinion, I think there should only be one cup throughout the whole of the season. I think it interferes too much with the normal league, even though it's good to have cup runs and stuff like that. I think I get more excited when my team's in it for the FA Cup, and I get more excited for the FA Cup instead of the League Cup, and I don't know why that is. I like it with the FA Cup where it goes for replays, because a lot of lower teams that hold a draw can get more money from it and from the ticket revenue and just simple things like that. But that's another point to discuss. But we'll go on to Danny and then we'll move on to another topic and then wrap up the show nicely. Danny, again, reflecting on Charlie's and Ben's point, which ones you kind of agree with?
Oh, it's interesting. It's interesting because we obviously had this debate last night, and you know what, having slept on it, I feel it's an opportunity to boost football tourism. Now, I don't know if you guys have looked too much into it, but football tourism is quite a huge sort of deal for UK, well, the UK as a whole. I've done a bit in the article I'll have to find, but I think it was like 1 in 5 people who come to visit the UK visit a sporting event live, and 70% of those are watching English football live. So football's a huge market. I personally, I have to say, I agree with Ben in the sense that I think it should be done here. I get what Charlie's saying in terms of if they didn't do it, we might not have a cup. But I think it's kind of silly. I think it kind of tarnishes their brand, I think, by doing it outside. And look, we were saying the other night, every draw of this competition so far has been a massive cock up. So it'd be interesting to see if they do the same.
It has. I can remember listening to the last one, the second round draw when Forest were drawn Newcastle. I can remember they had obviously the South and North draw, and I was ready for Forest's number 21. So on the South draw, they got the number 21, and I thought, yes, it's Forest. And then they got another number, and it was Millwall. And I thought, oh, we haven't got Millwall at the club. And I generally thought Forest and Millwall, and then didn't later realise when Forest got drawn out again. And I was like, the Forest being drawn out twice. Then I realised they've got all these new north, southern sections and all that. But you want about football tourism there, Danny, is the EFL have done a new thing with their new website, ifollow.com, which gives you the chance to pay for I think it's a year or monthly subscription or even weekly to watch live football across abroad. I think it's great because the perks of it, don't tell anyone, but the perks of it, someone streamed one of the Forest games on Facebook all the way from Poland. So we got to watch it. You can see that as well as another major point in the Carabao, and some Carabao Cups are streamed, games are streamed with the iFollow too. But we've got to move on from that segment because we are running out of time now. We're going to talk very quickly about financial fair play. It was a point that was brought to me by one of my close friends. We were talking about it earlier today. We'll go to, because involved with the FFFP is things like the parachute payments for clubs that fall down from the Premier League. We'll go to Liam. Do you think the financial fair play is necessary? Because some clubs, like your big clubs in the Premier League, sometimes get away with it.
Yeah, I think it's necessary. It stops clubs from spending way in excess of what they should be spending, putting them into potential debt, and it also gives the sort of like little clubs like your Bournemouths and your Burnleys of the Premier League to sort of spend money as well instead of having all these other players taken away for much more money.
Yeah. We'll go to Charlie. What's your thoughts on FFFP?
I think FFP as a concept is a really good idea, but in reality, I don't think it's actually. I think it hasn't really worked out, to be honest.
Yeah.
If you look at some of the spending in the Championship alone, actually, I'm doing this for my dissertation this year at university, financial fair play. And if you look into the stats of it, it hasn't really tailed in spending as much as it could have. If you look at teams are just looking at ways of getting around it now. So you're looking at, Newcastle last year were able to spend a large amount because they'd sold players at Premier League prices. So parachute payments and having the ability to sell high prices to the Premier League is something that helps all the league. But for teams that have just come down, they have players that are more valuable. it's a difficult situation. It does need revising.
I can remember when Forest were under it, and at first I'd never heard anything of it because it was quite at a young age when I was at a young age when Forest were placed under it. And I kept saying, why aren't Forest signing the paid players? And it kept saying free transfers and on loan. But Forest did okay with the financial fair play rules under them. I think we managed it great with Dougie Freeman, who is actually now sporting director at Palace. He brought some fantastic players, and half the squad he brought in on free transfers and some loans that have been signed on permanent deals now. Half of the people he brought in are still in our squad and play first team football. So I can see the benefit of it, but I can see also the doubts and the pros and the cons for it. We'll get Danny's points. Danny, what do you think about it really?
To be honest, I'm sort of echoing Charlie. Great concept. What I would say is, I assume we are talking about the Football Leagues one, right? And not the good. I personally feel the Football Leagues one has had more of an impact than the UEFA one. As you recently seen with Neymar going to PSG. I mean, Man City, when they broke the financial fair play for UEFA's ruling on that, they sort of really got a slap on the wrist. They got a small fine, which to them is nothing, and like a smaller squad size for the Champions League. Whereas obviously in the Football League, we've seen, I'm pretty sure we've seen in the past, teams get points deducted, obviously fines as well. And I just feel that clubs are less inclined to do that in the Football League than what they are in the Premier League. So I think fair play to them.
Unfortunately, we have ran out of time. But quickly, if I've just asked everyone to leave their Twitter handles or anything they want to find us on, find themselves on social media. We'll start with Ben.
Twitter handle is at BennyBoy0702.
Yeah, Billy.
My Twitter is BillyJoAnnX.
Great. Remember to check out some of Billy's articles on TFF Newcastle and generally the football forecast. She's done some really good ones. Thanks for coming on tonight, Ben and Billy.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Charlie, leave us with yours.
You can find me on Twitter at Charlie Pumphrey. Just generally talking about Brighton things. Yeah,
I was looking at your Twitter today, and it was I read some of the comments about Brighton. Yeah, but thanks for coming on tonight, Charlie. Again.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. And Danny.
No, I wouldn't go that far. On Twitter at DannyCook1996. Last couple of days been posting about some of Max's work. So big shout out to obviously our main man Max here tonight.
Oh, cheers, Danny. Cheers. Thanks for that. Thanks for the mention last night on the Tff Talks. Liam, Mr. Liam Drury, I'm sure you have lots of social medias for all your girls to find you on.
My Twitter's at Liam Drury 4 and follow TFF, follow at official TFF for transfer deadline day because there's a lot of stuff coming for that.
Yeah, that's a good point, and I'll bring it up now. Make sure you go and follow us, turn the notifications on Twitter and every single social media, as we've got lots of things, including a lot of podcasts and just generally news on transfer deadline day for you coming up. Thanks for coming on tonight, and I do apologise for the short show. I'm away next week, unless we can find someone else to host it, which I'll be in talks with someone. The show will return in 2 weeks for another show. But if you want to find me on Twitter, it's at MaxNFFC. YouTube, Match Day with Max, as Danny just mentioned. Talk about Forest content. And I was supposed to be on TFF Talks last night, but I was interviewed on the radio, BBC Radio Nottingham. If you'd like to check that out, just look at my Twitter and it's there in bold for you if you'd like to check that out. But anyway, thanks for joining us tonight and thanks for comments sent in. Have a good evening and rest of your week and good night.